Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I am Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And as we just mentioned, we are two guys in a basement, just trying to do our best with producing a Star Wars and other nerdy kind of thing live podcast called, by the way, the Jedi Enclave presents the This is Podcasting podcast. Mm-hmm. We're your hosts, where we talk about Star Wars and
other shit
other things that we enjoy. So welcome. And
speaking of this is completely adjacent to everything.
Well, you're allowed one of those.
Okay. Well, there's The Boys spinoff, Generation V, I think. Have you heard about this?
No, I think the last thing I looked into The Boys was the that Amazon what was the one shot animated thing.
Oh yeah. I know
what's her name? Yeah. Anyway, what about it?
This is just a full live action spin-off, and I guess they're premiering it September 27th.
Oh, nice. Also, Loki comes out pretty soon.
Oh yeah,
October 5th. That's not what. So a vast majority of what we're talking about today, if not everything, is going to be Ahsoka, because it had its 6th episode last night. It was pretty great.
Pretty big, pretty monumental.
I got like one or two Star Wars news things that we're not going to spend a bunch of time on.
Okay.
If you're here on YouTube checking out the podcast after the fact, go look in the description for time codes and ways to follow us on social media. And while you're there, give us a like and a subscribe, or give us a share, or just a hand job. It really depends on you.
Whatever makes you happy.
You don't have to do that. We're also on Discord. The Discord link is in the link of in the description of this video. You can go check us out there.
Come talk to us about Star Wars.
Yeah,
it's fun.
A big thank you to Connor at the Star Wars Hub and Star Wars Veritas, our friend and colleague who does Star Wars things. He's a great guy. I love him. And after this at 7, we're going to be playing Star Wars Battlefront 2. Where the conversation about Ahsoka today will continue, because
there's a lot to go.
There's still a lot to talk about, and they've answered some questions, but then
they've
asked a bunch.
More.
Yeah, asked a bunch more. And then on Sundays at 7, we do our new Gungans and Dragons Star Wars RPG, to start a tabletop RPG adventure, which is chill but also a lot of fun. I'm glad that we're kind of figuring it out, because I'm pretty sure that at some point, we're going to do a really good one. And it's I kind of consider this version of Gungans and Dragons kind of our practice run at it and everything. And because I've never played an RPG before like that. And now that I've kind of participated a little bit, and also been a part of the Dungeons and Dragons life, I guess I'm actually pretty excited to do more of them.
Yeah. Last time we were rolling around Nar Shaddaa,
buying shit.
Yeah.
And talking to a witch.
In your case, buying illegal drugs that are sometimes not illegal, depending on whether you're on Nar Shaddaa or not.
Nar Shaddaa is kind of the, it's
it's the ultimate place to go if you're trying to score some drugs.
Yeah, where's the red light district again?
Amsterdam?
Yeah, it's like the Amsterdam of the universe. But it was a lot of fun. And then we'll be doing that again on Sunday at 7, and we are excited about it. So, okay.
News.
Just a couple of things.
This is so inconsequential. Daniel didn't even tell me what he was going to talk about.
They're both kind of they're both under the same heading too, almost. So we were talking about how they were going to do a Donald Glover Lando series, and then they're like, oh, we were going to do it, but the guy that's writing it isn't going to write it anymore. Donald Glover's brother is going to be working on it. Blah blah blah.
Okay.
So it turns out they're like, oh, we're not going to do that. Where it's actually going to be a movie.
Okay. And
this comes from pretty good sources, and I guess they're just going to make it into a movie, which is okay. I mean,
I'm down for more Donald Glover as Lando.
Yeah, pick whichever one of those you want, and then announce. Well, don't announce it, because then they'll cancel it. Because that's how Disney does.
Do not let Kathleen Kennedy announce this.
Yes,
keep her very far away from the media.
Yeah. The other Star Wars news thing related to Star Wars movies is that despite all of Taika Waititi's shenanigans about whether or not he's written his Star Wars movie, it is apparently very much in the works. And I guess several writers are going to be contributing to it or something.
Because Taika Waititi certainly isn't.
which I think is an issue. Like, I don't know how they're going to do that with the writer's strike right now. But, you know.
I hope they're not getting scab writers.
Yeah, it would be nice. Though, I don't know. I feel like so you read you read about the whole Drew Barrymore thing?
A little bit.
So she's an actor and said that she was going to be resuming her talk show during the strike and received massive backlash. Actually, what was really funny.
As well she should, honestly.
Okay, so as an aside, I know, guys, stick with me. I know this is an Ahsoka, but it's really funny. So you know that the auto workers also went on strike. So I saw a headline from The Onion the other day. It said Drew Barrymore opens car factory in the midst of the auto workers strike, which I thought was really funny. But they had this thing where I think Hollywood was like, oh, we'll see how the Drew Barrymore thing goes. And like, if everyone's like kind of cool with it, maybe everything will just kind of go away. No one was cool with it. She was immediately eviscerated, and Hollywood was like, fuck. Okay. And so they're like, the strike's still going strong. I think that they realize how much leverage they have. Leverage being, if it's one thing that Hollywood and corporations hate more than unions, it's not making the most amount of money they can, which is not, they're not making the most amount of money right now. And they're getting to the point where it's going to lose them more money than it would have cost to give them their demands if they just keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Also, still in the background of the massive Hollywood strike, like the directors union is like, their contract is up pretty soon. And I can imagine them just going out on the picket line with everyone else.
Yeah. Oh, did you see that the Marvel studio, the MCU VFX group had a unanimous vote to unionize?
Oh, good. Excellent.
So maybe they'll go on strike too. And maybe the MCU will have better effects as a result, because people who don't know what they're talking about will say, oh, the VFX on this movie look like it's from a PlayStation 2. Like, these VFX artists suck. And that's just not how that works. Like, they're the best in the world.
There's just so many issues involved with VFX work that's not related to the technology and the artists themselves.
Or their ability, right.
It's like any delay in production schedule means that the VFX people lose time.
Yeah, or not even delays. Like, they'll get a director be like, I need this thing. It needs to look as good as Avatar Way of Water. Okay, how much time do I have? 3 hours.
That also happens.
2 hours ago. And they're like, okay.
I'll do
and they
what
do
I
their
can.
best.
Yeah.
And as a result, you get shit like The Flash, which looked like shit.
Yeah.
Or what was the other Marvel thing that looked really bad recently? Ant-Man looked a little shit. It actually looked a lot shit in spots. And kind of sometimes kind of the same thing with Star Wars too.
The other end of the spectrum is you get things like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which looks phenomenal. But if you look at any report of how Lord and Miller ran that operation, it's absolutely horrific. Like, they all but abused, like, you could argue they did abuse their entire visual effects department. Yeah.
So maybe they'll also go on strike, and then I know it'll suck. We won't get stuff for a while, but the world will be a better place after that. Yeah. So, all right. Enough of that bullshit. All right.
Let's talk about other bullshit. Let's talk about Ahsoka.
Right. Ahsoka was a big deal. So we're going to do what we usually do. We do non-spoiler, like a little 5-minute non-spoiler talk, and then we'll get in. Like, we'll go like balls deep.
Because there's a lot.
The whole thing in there. My chair keeps trying to roll away.
So can I start with our spoiler first?
Yes, please.
So these Disney Plus shows kind of have a rhythm to them. Like, they have this big bombastic opening. They have a few episodes that are kind of...
They feel fillery.
Yeah. And then you have a setup and then like a big 2-part finale. The first episode ends on a cliffhanger. The second part resolves everything.
Yeah.
This was definitely that third to the end kind of setup episode where they're establishing, these are all the characters involved.
And
these are the stakes. Yeah. And despite that, it still came out pretty good.
You know why?
Because they had phenomenal actors.
You know also why? Yes, so that's a huge part of it. Also, the writing is good. It's an appropriate length for an episode.
Also true. Yes.
And it gave them time. It's just like Andor, like where, you have a good story that would have been not very much fun to watch if they tried to cram it in to a bunch of like 28-minute episodes.
One of my absolute favorite gags in this episode relies on the fact that they had time to just have an empty shot where nothing was happening for a beat.
Oh my God. But by the way, apparently my dog makes a cameo in this episode.
The other thing, as long as we were talking about actors, I wanted to mention like this episode really drove home to me how good these actors are at displaying their characters like emotional and spiritual state with their posture and their bodies. Like
you're talking about Ray Stevenson, right?
He's one of them. Yes. Like Ray Stevenson always stands very tall with his shoulders back. He looks like a refrigerator.
Yeah.
He looks enormous.
Yeah.
Shin Hati always kind of hunches over a little bit. Like she looks like a teenager.
Yeah.
Like, you know how teenagers have that sort of posture where they're just not sure what to do with their bodies. So they just kind of slouch.
Yeah. So does Shin Hati give you homeschool vibes?
A little bit.
She gives me homeschool vibes a lot. Where like, because and that isn't a diss against homeschool. I have a really good friend who's homeschooled, and he's fucking weird. I'm sorry, and he'll say, "Sorry, I didn't learn how to socialize the way everyone else does when they go to school."
It's that plus the hair, like the bleach blonde, is obviously not her real color.
Yeah, it's definitely a wig. Yeah. You know whose hair isn't a wig?
Who?
Balin Skull.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm famously gay. Everyone in the world knows this. And I generally have like a type, and it generally isn't Balin Skull aged men. I will say, I would let him rail me any fucking day. The dude, Ray Stevenson, was such an insanely attractive man.
What you're saying is his death was a tragedy in many, many ways.
Yes. Above all, the fact that he has like a monologue in this episode where you're just like, I would have really liked more of this. And and I don't know we don't know what they're going to do with the character. Very well could be that he's not going to survive anyway, like in the show. I saw rumors about them recasting with Lieb Schreiber, which I think that's just someone's like fan casting. I'm not even really sure if that's the thing they're considering. Which I mean, they have some similarities, I guess. But you know, or they might, you know, hopefully what they don't do is the whole Rise of Skywalker Princess Leia thing.
Yeah, we
need to stop like resurrecting dead people for movies and shows because it feels kind of icky.
Yeah.
But he has that like a monologue. Actually, has a couple. They kind of do a little bit of character development with him.
This is very much like if any character owns this episode, I think he does.
Yeah. LMAO homeschool vibes has me weak, dude. Don't do her like that. Like I said, look,
she's just a little weird.
Yeah,
like she hasn't been properly socialized.
And also that like that isn't a barometer of how intelligent or how good of a person you are.
Yeah.
Like there are a couple of areas socially where I am very strange too. Like we all have our weird baggage that we carry with us. It's just that her particular one is like Christian homeschool. Okay, so the music was fucking beautiful.
Yes.
There are some things that happen in this episode I assumed they were gonna wait until like the big climax to do, and this one they're like, nope, here's everybody.
Just the gang's all here.
Yeah. And both entrances were just so good. And
very different entrances, but they both suited the characters.
Yeah. At no point during this did I feel like the Rebels animated continuity and the live action continuity that we're going through doesn't actually marry with its like with each other well. It feels like it is one thing. I like the day after the episodes, I like to go and like lurk some comment threads, like on Star Wars posts, like from the official thing or like big groups, so I can kind of keep up like the pulse of how everyone's kind of feeling about it. And like there's always going to be people. It doesn't matter. It could be the best thing in the world, and people still bitch about it because that's just
because Star Wars fans are the worst.
But I will say that overwhelmingly, people really seem to love this show, and I'm really relieved about that because, like I liked Obi-Wan, but it wasn't the home run we hoped it would be.
Star Wars needed a win.
Yeah, and it's nice that we actually have something that they took a lot of time on from multiple perspectives to make sure it was really good. And I've seen a lot of people like, oh, Dave Filoni needs to take over Star Wars. It's like
Dave Filoni will save Star Wars.
Yeah.
From the woke liberal agenda.
So first of all, like Dave Filoni be like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing, which is drawing little pictures on paper in my spare time when people are talking to me and like doing, thinking about Ahsoka, because that's what he does all the time. That people don't understand all of the other roles that go into making something like this. And you can't, this will get some hate in the comments. I just do not give a fuck. You can't scream at Kathleen Kennedy for ruining the shows that you don't like, and then just ignoring her contributions on the things that you do like.
Because here's what Kathleen Kennedy actually does. She cuts checks.
Yeah.
She hires the people who hire people who make the shows.
She makes sure the trains run on time.
Yes.
That's her entire job.
Her job is to run a money-making operation and give that money to people who are going to make more money for Disney. That's it. That's all she does.
That being said, she's a blood-sucking capitalist vampire, and she probably is a terrible person. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we get on the same page with that. I don't think you can have a job like that high up in Hollywood without either having seen some shit and not said anything, or just being a part of it.
Yeah.
And like, we can all hate Kathleen Kennedy for that, but not for any of the reasons that people, say.
Like, Kathleen Kennedy is not the reason why all the big characters in Ahsoka are female.
Yeah.
She's just not.
Yeah. Let's do spoilers. We're going to spoil this. If you've not seen the episode yet, go watch it.
Go watch it.
It's well worth your time.
Really good.
Yeah. And we're like,
you will probably be done watching it before we're done finished talking about it, because we're going to talk about it a lot.
Yeah. So go watch it, come back and play this again. Let us know what you think in the comments. I think I'm going to be trying to read the ones when they're good breaks to read them.
Okay.
And then at the end, if we've got some time, I've got some fan comments to read from a couple of posts we did last night and today to kind of get how you guys are feeling about it and everything.
Okay.
So let's go.
Okay. So this episode is called Far, Far Away.
Yes.
They have the droid and helmet sequence, and there's some whale song over that this time.
Mm-hmm.
The whales are swimming through hyperspace, and Ahsoka and Hu Yang are still in their ship inside the whale's mouth. And Ahsoka is kind of reminiscing about stories about Purgles that Hu Yang told the Jedi younglings, and Hu Yang's like, well, I could tell you another story. And Ahsoka's like, nah, not really.
There for a second, I thought they were going to do let's do some exposition via storytelling. And then Ahsoka's like, nah, that's okay.
Hu Yang is like, well, okay then. Why don't you tell me a fucking story?
He just crosses his arms. He's like, fine.
Ahsoka says, okay. So like when I picked up the map, I was able to do the psychometry thing, and I saw that Sabine went with Baylan Skoll willingly, and like
that's bad. Okay.
Yes. Like she could have ended the whole threat of Thrawn if she just shot the map, but she didn't.
Yep.
Hu Yang says, well, that would have meant Ezra was just lost forever. Ahsoka's like, man, like I really didn't have enough time to prepare Sabine to make this choice properly. Like she had the stakes of the entire galaxy on her hands, and she just kind of fumbled.
Yeah.
And Hu Yang says, well, it's Sabine. She was going to pick that regardless. Like, how big of a crush she has on Ezra.
Also, she's a dumbass. As I've said several times throughout the series.
She can't use the Force. She can barely swing a lightsaber.
I am aggressively on record for saying that Sabine Wren is a fucking dumbass. And Ahsoka's like, no, you have said that like 100 times.
Ahsoka's like, all right then, wise ass. I want you to tell me a story afterward. Anyway, Hu Yang is like, okay, well, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, he said the thing.
Okay, so I always watch these twice, back to back. And the reason is because my partner, John, has a rehearsal when it airs. So I'll watch it immediately because I don't want to like get it spoiled on social media. And then when he comes home, he wants to watch it. And so I'm like, I'll fucking watch it again because they've all been good enough to see twice back to back. I'll be damned if I by myself didn't smile when he said that. Mm-hmm. And then when John got home to watch it, he didn't do and I got to tell you, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away thing works so much better as a diegetic thing in the show, as opposed to where it doesn't make sense, usually, which is at the front of Star Wars movies. That's never made sense to me. I don't think it's made sense to anyone really, because you're talking about this society that can travel past the speed of light and have spaceships and crazy technology things. And we're like, oh yeah, it was a long time ago.
Well, I mean, when did life first develop on Earth? Like a couple 100 million years ago? Who's to say that life couldn't have developed on another planet like a billion years ago?
I don't know. It's just been one of those things where it's like George Lucas wanted to be like Once Upon a Time, but spacey.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Okay, so we cut to Sabine, who's in prison cell, still in her handcuffs. Mm-hmm. She kind of gets up and just kind of paces back and forth until fucking Baylan Skoll appears at the door. And she's like, hey, asshole, you couldn't give me a room with a view? Skoll's like, look, just why don't you take this as an opportunity for reflection?
Yeah.
Sabine's like, yeah, I don't really do that. Yeah. Skoll's like, yeah, no fucking kidding.
Have you heard how much of a dumbass I am, according to Hugh Yang, the Jedi droid?
Sabine's like, okay, hold on. We had a deal. You said I'd see Ezra again. Skoll just kind of gives her a look and walks away.
Yeah, from a certain point of view.
And Sabine once again realizes that she might have made a bad decision.
Yeah.
So Baylan Skoll walks onto the Rings Bridge where Shin and Morgan Elsbeth are waiting. Morgan is like, hey, how's Sabine doing? Skoll's like, well, she's impatient. Morgan's like, well, what's your deal with her? And like, why did we bring her along? Like, Skoll says she is entirely focused on Ezra, and that makes her blind to everything else. Yeah. And that means that we can use her because she's a dumbass.
She got a big lady boner. Mm-hmm. And like, lady boners are good for things like this.
One of the droids says, hey, we're here. And they just kind of zip out of hyperspace.
I love that Morgan Elsbeth's main function in this show is either walking into a room, just being a badass, or just standing there looking out the windshield.
Yeah.
That's all she does in this show.
She does it incredibly well.
I know. Well. It's like, it just makes me wonder, like, if no one's there, if she like actually just like reclines and relaxes, and then like she hears someone walking, she jumps up and looks out the window all pensively and shit.
No. Like in her sleep, she looks epic.
Yeah.
So they come out of hyperspace and they're flying towards Peridea, the actual Peridea, the ancient homeworld of the people who would become the Dathomiri.
Yes.
Skoll's like, yeah, the Jedi knew about this. It was part of the space whales migration route. Morgan says, yeah, my ancestors rode the whales between galaxies. That's how they got to Dathomir. Skoll's like, yeah, the whales come here to die. And there's a neat detail because like when we first come out of hyperspace, we see Peridea has this giant ring around it. And then the ring, like the hyperspace ring, flies a little closer, and we get a shot of this ring, and it's made up of whale corpses.
Yeah, it's just a graveyard. Yeah. It's funny that the first thing I thought of when I saw that was the elephant graveyard from Lion King.
Yeah. The droid says, hey, there's a beacon down on the surface. And Morgan's like, excellent. That's where we're going.
Yep.
So Sabine hears the ship kind of creaking around her, and her cell opens, and in comes some red shirts and Shin. And they take her onto the shuttle where Morgan, Sabine, Shin, and Baylan are all riding down to the surface. And this is another one of those like long shots that they couldn't have really had in a shorter episode. Cause like there's like little shots of everyone's faces and like Shin and Sabine glaring at each other.
Yeah. And there is that look between them where they're
like they are not done.
Yeah. I think everyone generally agrees that this is a better way to present epic stories like Star Wars, but it is nice to just take a second for this. I meant to mention this in our spoiler free, but I still smell a lot of Game of Thrones from this with how they're presenting the story, but this particularly feels a lot like Dune. This episode felt a lot like Dune.
Yeah.
In a couple of spots. The newer one,
Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah. The director for that was I can't remember. I can't remember. Yeah, but
part 2 is coming soon, apparently.
Which I'll watch. I thought it was cool. There's a lot of shit in it that really felt like Dune, like the first part of Dune, which I thought was cool.
I see that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're flying down to the planet. They go through some rain and they fly past some creepy giant statues, and Morgan is getting excited. Like she's up on her tippy toes, like, oh my god, we're gonna get. So they finally land on top of this big tower, and everyone gets out. There's 3 red cloaked people there doing some weird force shit with these like floaty metal balls connected by red lasers.
They're just fondling their balls with dark magic.
And Morgan just kind of walks over and bows, and the lead of the red cloaks is, hey, you're a child of Dathomir. And she has this creepy echo on her voice.
Yeah, it's just like Mother Talzin in Clone Wars. Yeah.
So this is the Great Mother. And she asks, if Morgan heard them in her dreams. And Morgan's like, yes, it is your voice that led me between galaxies. And Shin is like, they're witches!
Yeah, they are. Like, every time a witch, they like... Shin has a problem with witches. Yes. I think that Balin might as well, but he's just a little bit more...
He's just way better at controlling it.
But like every time someone says the word witch, Shin's like...
because she's homeschooled and doesn't have experience.
Right, she's never met a witch before, yeah. She's never met another human being before.
So witches are like, okay, we've been waiting forever for you to get here, but Thrawn said you'd be here, and now you're here, so, that's cool. Morgan's like, Thrawn? You said Thrawn? Well, where's Thrawn? I need to touch on my makeup. Where's Thrawn?
Yeah.
The witches say...
Ooh, say that name again.
Yeah, he'll be here. But they also kind of look past Morgan, they look at Sabine, and they're like, she reeks of the Jedi.
That's not what she says. She says, it reeks.
I'm sorry. It reeks of the Jedi.
Which it was kind of gross of her to say. But also, I like this look from Sabine where, like, she says that and she's like,
you talking about me?
Have you not talked to Hugh Yang? I'm a dumbass. Like,
so
maybe it's because, like, Ahsoka brushed against her. And that's what they smell Ahsoka Jedi on her.
So the witches have their balls float over to Sabine, and the lasers, like, kind of constrict her arms and, like, crab walk her away.
Were they testing this device?
I don't think so. I think the balls, like, do other stuff. It's just that they used it to...
Yeah, it's just like when they walked up, they had it in that configuration where it was like joined by lasers. Yep. It's like maybe they're like, here in a couple of seconds, we're going to have to tie this girl up so we can make sure it works.
Yep.
Make sure it's turned on.
So Sabine is being forced away. She just starts yelling, hey, we had a deal. Where the fuck is Ezra? I'm horny.
Yeah. Lady boner.
So they kind of drop Sabine in another prison cell inside the tower, and the balls float away. So the shuttle flies away, and Balin's skull and Shin Hati are just on the tower roof, which looks suspiciously like that stone circle back on planet Cetos that they just left.
Oh, it is. It's the same kind of like space Stonehenge, except it is very. It's much better cared for.
Yes,
like all the gold paint is still like really intact and like.
Well, I mean, it hasn't been right next to the ocean for thousands of years.
But also those weird witches like are probably out there every day with a cloth, like polishing it and shit.
So Shin's like, hey, what's up? Balin's like, this is a land of fairy tales. There's a whole bunch of weird shit happening here. Shin is like, yeah, I don't actually know any fairy tales. Like my parents didn't tell me any. That they only made me read the Bible.
Yeah. Specifically the book of Job.
Yeah. Balin's like,
the most boring book in the Bible.
Yeah, that's because you weren't raised a Jedi. Like, we had all the stories about this galaxy. Like, every fairy tale they told us, it was about this galaxy. And Shin's like, well, they're just fucking stories. Who the fuck cares? It's all bullshit. Balin's like, well, you see, I watched Order 66 happen, and it was really fucked up.
Yeah.
The Jedi fell, the Empire rose, but thing is, history is a circle, and this shit just keeps happening over and over and over again.
This is a big Game of Thrones thing, by the way. Daenerys Targaryen was famous for talking about the wheel that just perpetually turns and how she wanted to break the wheel.
Mm-hmm. So Shin says, okay.
She did more than break it, by the way. She burnt it down and then everyone else in the world.
Yeah. Shin is like, okay, so what? It's our turn to use Thrawn and gain power? And Balin's like, nah. See, I want to find a way to break the cycle so it's not constantly just spinning around. And if the stories are true, then the method I need to do that is right here on this planet.
Yeah.
So we cut away to Sabine, who's sitting in her cell, not really meditating so much as sort of like stewing. She's
bored.
Yeah. She's bored. She's now realizing that she made a bad decision, and she's kind of going antsy about it. She stands up and like holds out her hand, starts trying to use the Force a little bit, and like the tower shakes a little bit, but she quickly realizes that's not me.
It's not her. Yeah. So in TV or in storytelling like this, there's a very time tested effective method about doing jokes like this in threes, where you tell if you tell a joke once, it should be good enough to be told 3 times.
Okay.
And I've noticed that she did the thing with she did the thing with the cup, and then she tried to push Shin with it, and she had this. And I'm wondering maybe if the next time she doesn't try to use the Force, she's actually going to be able to use it.
Maybe.
Or the next time she's like, I'm giving up. No more of the Force for me.
So we go back to the roof of the tower, and the witches are there, and the bad guys are there, and there's this Star Destroyer that comes into view.
Yeah,
and it's weird looking.
Yeah.
It's kind of torn up and kind of repaired, kind of haphazardly, but also there's parts of it that are like gold plated and gilded.
Yeah. So it's and anyone who knows anything about Thrawn knows immediately that it's the Chimera, because he's famously the underside, he had a Chimera painted on it.
Yep.
Which I always thought was like a little vain for Thrawn.
He just likes chimeras.
I think it's probably a military tactical thing where like people see it and they freak out, and it like inspires fear or whatever. So
the Chimera flies over, and it just sort of lowers itself so that the tower is like inside the docking bay.
This is badass.
Yes.
This whole thing is badass.
So there's a shit ton of stormtroopers in this docking bay, and they look kind of like the Chimera itself. Like their armor is kind of dirty and broken up and like repaired and patched together.
Yeah.
There's this bit of diegetic music where like they're chanting Thrawn, Thrawn, Thrawn.
Yeah, those dudes love Thrawn.
Yeah. And there's this stormtrooper captain, I guess, named Enoch,
yeah,
who has like more gold on his armor than some of the others, and like a weird faceplate instead of a helmet.
Right. It kind of looks like have you ever seen The Gladiator with Russell Crowe?
Yes.
It looked like, like in one of those arena fights.
One of their masks.
Yeah, it kind of looks like one of the, I guess it would be like Roman masks, I guess. It kind of reminded me of that.
Anyway, there's an aisle down the middle of the stormtroopers, and who should come fucking strolling down but Grand Admiral Thrawn himself.
I'm just sitting there watching this.
Right?
Lars Mikkelsen. Mads Mikkelsen plays Jen Erso's father in. In
Lars Mikkelsen.
Yeah. I had to try real hard not to just come when this happened, because it was cool. It's a fucking cool entrance, and I gotta say, I was a little worried about how Thrawn was gonna look.
Because he's blue.
Yes. And it is unsettling, but I don't think it's at all because of him being blue. I think it's his eyes. And I don't think it's unsettling because it's a weird uncanny valley. And I'm pretty sure his eyes are like VFX.
Mm-hmm.
It is terrifying. He is terrifying to look at in live action. And there's a spot a little bit later on where he's talking to someone, and he like side eyes them, and his eyes move, and you're like, oh God, like having him stare at me, like that would be terrifying. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I just feel like they really hit Thrawn out of the park. And I was like, this translates to live action really well. Lars Mikkelsen looks fucking great as Thrawn. He
plays the part phenomenally.
Yeah. I like how they use his organ music from Rebels. Mm-hmm. This like fucking cathedral sized organ, like one organ player just fucking going like
it's
going to town.
Stormtrooper all the way in the back.
Yeah, it's like one guy. And so he Lars Mikkelsen is an amazing actor in the first place. John's been rewatching House of Cards recently, and I've just been kind of like sticking my head in and watching a little bit. And he plays a Vladimir Putin analog called it doesn't matter what it's called. It sounds like Vladimir Putin. It just like isn't Vladimir Putin, the Russian president in this like universe or whatever. And he plays a pretty similar character to Thrawn, and he just does this like, I don't know, whatever the thing that is, he does it very well.
So he walks across to the tower and meets and greets Elspeth, and he's like, well, shit, now that plan worked out, I'm going to fuck over literally everyone who's going to try to oppose me. Like, thank you very much. Yeah. You've allowed me to take over the galaxy.
It's going great. Wow.
Thanks to the Great Mothers and Morgan, we're all going back. This is my boy Enoch. He's going to take charge of the cargo transport.
Like, what's up?
Yep, we're gonna grab everything out of the catacombs, bring it onto the ship, and we'll take it back with us. It'll take like 3 days, but the Great Mothers insisted, so we're doing what we're gonna do.
So this is all gear, right?
Maybe
they don't say.
So the fact that the witches insisted on it and it's coming from catacombs makes me think it's weird Force shit.
It'd be a lot of weird Force shit. Maybe they're kyber crystals.
kyber crystals. They could be like zombies or bodies they're going to turn into zombies.
Yeah. I mean,
there's a lot of possibilities here.
They're roughly coffin shaped, like those, because we see them kind of moving them later on.
Mm-hmm. And they had, what's his name, the Dathomiri zombie who was with Shin.
Marok?
Yeah, Marok.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever that is. The witches say, by the way, Morgan and her people brought a prisoner, and this seems to like surprise Thrawn a little bit, or like catch him a little bit off guard. Balin's like, actually, I brought her because I thought she might be useful. Morgan is like, by the way, these are my employees, Balin Skull and Shin Hati. And Thrawn is like, Balin Skull, you're a former Jedi general.
Yeah.
And the witches like are not thrilled about that.
Yeah, they're like, ew, he is? like they couldn't tell by the giant fucking lightsaber hanging out of his belt.
Balin is like, I left the Jedi a long time ago. And Thrawn is like, you're not the only one.
Yeah.
Morgan is like,
a lot of the Jedi left.
By the way, just so you know, our prisoner's name is Sabine Wren. And Thrawn is like, actually, yes, you are correct.
Yeah, I think I know her.
She will be extremely useful.
I think I might want to kill her. She's one of the reasons I'm here.
So a couple of stormtroopers bring Sabine to Thrawn in this big fancy stone chamber. And Thrawn is like, it's so nice to see a familiar face. And by the way, thanks for saving me from exile. I understand you had a part in that. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Sabine is like, all right, cut the shit. Where's Ezra? Thrawn was like, yes, of course. You want to fuck him. Your horniness is going to reshape the course of history. Sabine is like, okay, yes, we all know you're extremely perceptive. Just
listen, Blue Man Group, tell me where he is.
Thrawn is like, okay, first of all, you don't need to be me to see that you have a lady boner for this guy that like you can see from space.
It's a big lady boner.
Yeah. Second, I know about your deal with Balin, and I will honor it. I'm going to give you some food, I'm going to give you a mount, and I'm going to give you the last known location of Ezra Bridger. And you can just, go take care of whatever you're going to
go and dry hump whatever you want to dry hump, girl.
Sabine's like, wait, you're actually just going to let me walk out of here? And Thrawn's like, yes, but also I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So you're just going to be here forever.
Yeah.
So have fun with that.
Yeah. It's in it. I like, so I can see Sabine being caught off guard with what eventually, with what Thrawn eventually orders here, because he really has this air like, why would I care about any of this?
Like I've already won.
I've already won. Like, we're leaving, and if you want to stay here and dry hump Ezra Bridger for the rest of your life, because that's all that's appropriate for Disney Plus. Like, go and do that, and then have a happy life here. Don't worry about what's happening on the side of the
it's an entire galaxy away.
Yeah.
Also, Ezra might be dead, so good luck looking for him.
Prepare yourself. Also, Jedi Master Celtic, I can't see from here, says rar.
Sabine says, nah, like if you lived this long, then Ezra definitely did. Thrawn is like, wait, you gambled the fate of the entire galaxy on that?
Yeah.
On Ezra might be alive?
Yeah.
Sabine is like, yes. Now, if you don't mind, I would like to go find Ezra now. Where's my mount? So Sabine gets led down to this sort of wolf thing that has this weird kind of face.
Yeah. It's like a dog
it's
crocodile.
A big dog. Yeah, dog crocodile. So she's given all her armor back. Enoch is like, hey, by the way, there are murderous nomads out there. We've given you all your guns. Try and take a few of them with you when you die.
Here's a lightsaber. He says, die well.
Yes.
And like, damn, this dude goes hard.
Yeah. So Sabine rides out as Thrawn and Morgan and Balin and Shin watch. Shin is like, there's no way she's gonna find him. Like, this is totally stupid. Thrawn is like, yeah, and you can follow whenever you want. Shin is like, wait, didn't we make a deal? Yeah. And Thrawn is like, yes, we did make a deal, and I am honoring it.
Yeah.
Sabine can find Ezra, and as soon as she does, you and Balin are going to kill them both.
Yeah, and she will have found Ezra.
Yes.
Everyone gets what they want.
Everyone, the deal works out. So Sabine is, riding her dog along, and it sniffs something and starts getting a little unhappy.
By the way, they're called howlers.
Yes.
This is my dog brecker.
Yeah.
with
Totally is. Holy shit.
with the weird long awkward legs and the long awkward tail that's like over expressive
and getting kind of skittish about something
and just being a doofus. Yeah, it was literally my dog Brecker.
So Sabine pulls out her sensor, which is just the same thing Luke had on Hoth in episode 5, and is like scanning when she gets shot by a nomad, and the dog just immediately runs
He's
away.
like, fuck it, I'm out.
Now Sabine is just in a firefight. So like she's shooting and like she's blocking things with Beskar, and like she's doing okay for herself, but eventually she gets knocked down and like her guns get knocked away, and she's like, wait a minute, I have a lightsaber.
I have the best weapon probably in the universe.
So she pulls out the lightsaber and starts just cutting the shit out of the nomads. And like she kills like most of them and a couple run away.
She does surreptitiously cut one of their weapons into 3.
Yes.
And
one of them commander with a staff or an axe or something. And she cuts it up.
Leaves that shit behind.
So she looks at the sensor that got shot at the beginning of all this, and it's completely wrecked. And she's like, well, shit, there goes that. And she just kind of keeps walking. Back at the tower, Baylan and Shin ride off on their own howlers to go pursue, as the stormtroopers are loading their weird coffin things onto the Chimera.
Yeah.
So Thrawn and Morgan are looking at this big star map, and Enoch reports, hey, they left. Thrawn is like, excellent. Get 2 squads ready and wait for Baylan's signal.
This is that moment I was telling you about. Because Morgan goes, is that enough? Or like,
yeah, she's like, wait, just 2 squads?
And he gives her this look like,
do not question me in front of the help.
Yeah, and it's actually is the thumbnail. That look that he gives is our thumbnail.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's like, I'm not even going to turn my head to look at you. I'm just going to move my eyes and be like, bitch, please.
So Thrawn says, look, I've kind of lost a lot of people out here, so 2 squads are all we can spend on this little project. So Enoch walks away, and Thrawn explains, look, our goal is to leave this galaxy and get back to the other one. Like, I don't give a shit if Ezra and Sabine are dead or stranded here, and I also don't give a shit if Baylan and Shin are dead or stranded here. Like, I just need them all out of play. So Sabine's dog has caught up to her, and she just fucking yells at it like, you fucking abandoned me, you fucking coward.
And like, so sad.
Like she keeps walking, like the dog tries to follow her, and she's like, no, go that way.
Bad dog.
And the dog just kind of walks back way out of frame, and like the camera doesn't move. So like Sabine has left on one side, the dog has walked back the other. Camera just stays there for a beat. And then the dog like walks back across the frame.
My dog has done this shit, but like both my dogs have done this shit where they like they like to pester me to go out at like midnight because like they smell creatures out under our deck and they want to go.
Or the neighbor dog is out or something.
And I'll point away and tell them to go to bed, and then they'll kind of trot off, and then like 3 minutes later they slink back in. Like, is it okay to come in? Fucking dogs, man.
So Sabine is like, all right, fine. I'll give you one more chance. Just stop looking so pathetic. Now, where the fuck are we going? So the dog sniffs around and Sabine hops on and they ride off towards whatever it smelled. Some time passes. It's a little darker now. And they get to this depression. Sabine hops off and the dog just starts licking up from a puddle. She's like, oh, great. You were thirsty. I'm real glad we stopped here. Dog starts sniffing at something. Mm-hmm. Sniffs around this little rock, and Sabine's like, dude, that's just a rock. You're embarrassing yourself. Come on. And then all of a sudden the rock just like sprouts legs, pops up and starts running away and trips and falls. And Sabine pulls out her gun. She's like, okay, I guess you're not a rock.
Yeah. These things are adorable.
Yes.
They have their little clothes, like their little like rough spun clothes, and their little fucking eye stalks.
I think they're called the Nuti.
Yeah.
N-U-T-I?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Their language sounds adorable.
Mm-hmm. So Sabine's like, all right, fine. You're not a rock, but I won't shoot you, and I will stop my dog from eating you.
Yeah, he wants to eat the fuck out of it.
Yes, he really does. So when she's like kneeling down to like talk to this alien, the alien sees the little rebellion symbol on her pauldron and gets excited. She's like, wait a minute, where have you seen this? And like she sees that it has a little medallion with the same symbol. She's like, holy shit, you know Ezra.
This is a different galaxy. How the fuck do you know about this?
Yeah, you must know Ezra.
People in my galaxy don't really know about this. Yeah. We're just rebels.
So the rock guy calls out to all the other rock guys, and they all come up and congregate. And the dog is like, oh shit, I could eat all of these things.
Yeah.
And Sabine's like, no,
Yeah.
bad. So Sabine's like, okay, do you know Ezra Bridger? And the Rock people are like, yeah, Ezra Bridger.
Yeah.
They're like, holy shit. All right. So they all go back to
Sabine's
their
like,
village.
this is way easier than I thought it would be.
So Balin and Shin have followed her trail to the scene of the battle, and they're like sort of examining the remains. Shin asks if Balin ever knew Ezra, and Balin's like, nah, he was trained after the temple fell. I never knew him.
Calls him a Boken Jedi.
Yes.
Which is
the Japanese for wooden sword.
Yeah, it's also it refers to another, like, I think I have to look it up. I think it might actually refer to samurai who were trained outside of the like the classic like establishment, which I think is the way that he's using it. Because being like, he is a wooden sword Jedi doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. Shin's like, oh, he's like me. Balin's like, no. He was trained as a Jedi. I trained you to be something more. She asks, do you ever miss the Jedi Order? And he's like, I miss the idea of it, but the reality was very flawed.
Yeah. I really like their relationship, by the way.
Yeah.
Shin's clearly really curious about his like story,
and she trusts Balin enough that she can just
ask him about
questions.
Stuff. Yeah, and he doesn't.
And Balin just answers.
Yeah, he doesn't chide her for it or anything. Like if this were Palpatine and Vader hanging out,
Palpatine would be like, "You fucking idiot! Why are you asking me questions? I'm going to electrocute you now. Go fucking murder something."
Yeah. It's a way different dynamic. It's all the credit goes to Ray Stevenson and just how brilliant he is in this part and how they've created a character who feels like a bad guy, but it's hard to see him as one because he's not a mustache twirling evil for evil's sake kind of guy.
He's very affable.
He's just trying to make his way, and it's
and like his goals are reprehensible.
Yeah.
But the way he goes about them.
But it's like Thanos. Yeah. It's like Thanos where he was like, I want to kill half of everyone. And here's why. And you're like,
that seems like a bad idea.
Like if you drop the kill the half of everyone thing, like I might actually be on your side.
Yeah.
But then Thanos is like, no, it's.
I'm actually going to kill everybody.
Yeah, that's my favorite part.
Half of everybody.
Yeah.
So Balin sees a great future and says that there's something on this planet that's calling out to him. And like, can't you hear it?
Yeah. So
Can't you see it?
So here's the thing. The Night Sisters or the Great Mother,
the witches, whatever they are,
calling to Morgan Elsbeth across time and space answers that question.
Yes.
Because in that one episode, she's like, something calls to me from blah, blah, blah. And it makes perfect sense. Yeah. Okay, fine. They're not the ones calling out to Balin, I don't think. So what the fuck is calling out to Balin? And the really weird thing too is if you read Chuck Wendig's Aftermath books, Palpatine has a moment in one of them where he's like, something from the beyond is calling out to me in a very similar fashion that Balin's having. And I'm just like, what the fuck is it? So they never answered it.
Yeah. Part of this is just a convenient storytelling tool because like if there's something way out there that we don't know anything about and there's a possibility there, it's it's something that you don't have to explain, but already gets the audience's imagination.
Yeah. It's one of those things that we're going to continue in our conversation when we switch to Battlefront here in a few minutes. I got a whole list of things I'm thinking about.
So Shin is like, well, I don't sense whatever you're sensing, but I do sense there's some bandits on top of that rock that are looking at us and like, can I cut them up? And Balin's like, nah, just chill. Like the enemy of our enemy is our friend until we kill everybody later.
That's the other thing. Like he doesn't like Palpatine would have like, I might want to kill him just for fun.
Yeah.
Because it might be kind of neat.
Because it gives me a boner.
Yeah. Or Vader would be like, I must kill them because I must kill everything. Yeah. And Balin's just like, I
mean, they're not hurting us.
I mean, we could absolutely
kill them.
We could whoop their ass, but why?
Yeah.
They might have tacos. Let's ask if they have tacos first.
I do love tacos.
We'll go from there.
So the Rock Turtle guys lead Sabine to their little camp and village, which she walks through and sees all these little domestic scenes. Like there's a baby rock guy in a little cradle.
I love their city, their little hamlet design because their buildings look like their shells. It's just like, I just thought it was really clever.
And
I want one of these as a pet. I know that's probably morally dubious because they're
Yeah.
obviously sentient beings with a height, like a sociology and everything. But I would like to have one on a leash, I think.
Yeah. So the rock people offer her some food, and she's like, nah. And she's just kind of, looking around when from behind her, it's like, I knew I could count on you. And of course she turns around and it's fucking Ezra.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? We gave you Thrawn in this episode, but guess what? We're gonna give you Ezra too. Which, by the way, I mentioned earlier about letting Balin skull rail me. Fucking Ezra is hot. He needs to shave.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
he needs to
big
shave.
scraggly beard.
Yeah, but he looks good. I mean, sexually, but also as Ezra. Like he, we reported on rumors a while ago that the guy that played Aladdin in the Disney live action remake was supposed to be slated for Ezra. I was really excited because I love him. And I was a little disappointed to find out that it was another guy, but this guy does a good job.
Yeah.
I appreciate that he's got the scar, the two scars from Rebels, and he has very, very blue eyes, just like also in Rebels.
I was talking in our spoiler free about how everyone was doing such a good job with their posture, conveying the characters. Like Thrawn does the very upright, hands behind the back, thing very well. This guy does Ezra just sort of like, lounging around.
It's exactly like he is in Rebels. And that's the thing I also mentioned earlier. This moment between Sabine and Ezra feels like those characters. Like there wasn't any time missed, and that the like the live action characters are the same characters from Rebels. We're just seeing it a different way. They felt the same and everything.
It feels like the actors really did their homework.
Yeah, and it's just like I was really happy that they found each other as well. And I think he's like got some chainmail. He's got
some armor underneath these robes that are like styled after the same thing the rock people are wearing.
Do you think he's still like all the way Jedi?
I think so.
Because he really identified as a Jedi by the time Rebels was over. And I think he's doing the crazy woodland Jedi thing where he's found a little tribe of people to help, and he's just hanging out helping people. And he's like,
that seems in keeping with his character.
Yeah.
So he's like, man, it took you a long ass time to find me. And Samina's like, well, maybe if you told us where you were going, I wouldn't have had to look for so fucking long. Yeah. As I was like, I didn't fucking know where I was going. How could I tell you?
I do like this moment where he's like, I mean, it worked, right? It did work, because now that I think about it, I didn't stick around to see how everything unfolded.
We actually won, right? Like we didn't lose the Galactic Civil War.
I would have it would have been nice for Sabine. Maybe they'll talk about this next week, but it would have been nice for Sabine to be like, we won the entire war. With we didn't just win the Battle of Lothal, we won the entire war. And there's this crazy fucking Jedi called Luke Skywalker running around.
You've got to meet him.
He did this thing on an Imperial people are still jerking off to it. Like this, you're gonna love this dude.
Yeah. Let's see, where was I? Sabina's like, man, you really suck at plans, don't you? The actual line is something like, just like you, always a plan, never a good one.
Yeah.
Which is pretty
good. But also they always end up working anyway. So
yeah. I was like, look, it worked, didn't it?
Yeah.
Sabina's like, yeah, I guess it did. And they have a hug, and it's real nice.
She's like dry humping
him. Yeah.
Please, let's do this.
Rock people are all like, dude, get a fucking room. Come on.
They actually all cheer for them.
And so I was like, okay, I have questions.
They're all collectively his wingman. They're like, go for it.
I was like, okay, how did you get here? Like, how did the rock people find you? Why do you have that giant dog with you? Sabina's like, can't I just be happy for 1 minute without answering all your dumbass questions?
Also, I don't like the answer to these questions, so let's talk about something else. And I have a feeling you might not like them either.
Ezra was like, okay. He says something to the rock people, and they're all getting packed up to leave because they got to move. There's no.
They're very nomadic. Yeah.
I was like, thanks for coming. It's gonna be great when we get back. And Sabine's like, yeah, about that.
Yeah, she just doesn't say anything. He just because he's so bright eyed and like excited, and she's like, yeah. Shit.
So back at the tower, Thrawn and Morgan have a meeting with the Great Mother. And the witches sense that there's a Jedi coming. And Thrawn is really not happy about that.
Yeah.
So he asks, like, could it be Ahsoka Tano? And Morgan's like, no, there's no fucking way. Balin killed her. Thrawn is like, bitch, which one of us is the tactical genius here? And Morgan's like, you are. Thrawn is like, that's right. I'm the tactical genius here. Now, why don't you just shut the fuck up and let me do my thing?
Yeah.
Like, Morgan says no, Balin told me she was dead. And Thrawn was like, yeah, but Balin was a Jedi, and they're all kind of stupid. So let's just assume Ahsoka is still alive until we know for sure otherwise. Now, I want you to tell me everything you know about her, every single detail.
Every fucking drawing she's ever done.
Yes.
I want to see
I want to know where she's from. I want to know who trained her. I want to know who betrayed her. I want to know everything.
Every paper mache volcano, every piece of art this woman has made.
Every science project she's ever done.
Bring it to me, yeah.
Oh, and by the way, whenever there's any Purgles coming at us, I want you to shoot them.
Shoot them with prejudice is what he says. When I watched this with John, he was like, I don't like him. I was like, I get it. They're pretty cute. Like, I get it.
Turns back to the witches and like, it was, yeah, I need your magic again. The witch is like, yeah, of course. Like the magic demands that we help you. And there's some ominous music and it cuts to black and rolls credits and that's it.
Yeah.
So this was very clearly the setup for the finale.
Yes. Right? There's still 2 more episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I have a whole list of questions. We're going to have to carry it over to our Battlefront stream, which is going to be happening right after this. So if you have notifications turned on,
you'll be there.
Yeah, or just come back to whatever platform you're on. Just come back in a couple of minutes. We'll be there. I do like. I hope that they do what I think they're going to do, which is I hope Thrawn gets out. I hope the last thing you see in this show is him arriving in the galaxy with his fucking Star Destroyer, looking out the window like a badass, being like, "All right, let's do this now."
Okay.
And having the bad guys, or having the good guys having suffered a pretty bad defeat. Maybe the death of one of the characters. Probably Hugh Yang, because that would be the least traumatic for everyone, I think. But maybe Sabine, or maybe Ahsoka.
Because we know Ahsoka has to be dead by the time of Rise of Skywalker.
Right. If they go this way, people will lose their minds over this show. Like if they actually commit to that kind of thing, where it's kind of like at the end of Infinity War, it's fucking Thor throws the and you're like, oh, they're gonna win.
Yeah.
Like,
and then Thanos fucking snaps and oh god.
The last 3 minutes of the movie, I remember when I saw that in theaters.
Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
There were, by the way, when I saw that in theaters, there were girls in my row bawling, like snot bubbles bawling, right? If they were to do something like that, where like Thrawn has a serious victory, it would be the most metal fucking badass thing in the show. And probably would be the thing where I'd be like, yeah, it's better than Andor. Because Andor's pretty good, but that's pretty fucking great.
My concern about that is that at that point, the only recourse you have to defeat Thrawn is Luke Skywalker. And that means
he's in the galaxy.
That means more CGI Luke, which I'm not.
I don't know. After Hayden Christensen in the last episode, I think so. Remember that Dave Filoni's doing a film where he said that he's wrapping up the stories of Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and Luke was in 2 of those motherfuckers. Yeah. So like it would make sense. And I think it would be a good way. I know some people were like, I saw some articles be like, oh, they're replacing Luke with Ahsoka with this story. And maybe they are, and what the fuck ever. It's like whatever. It would be nice for Thrawn to be, for Luke to be the guy they have to go get. Because as the show's progressed, especially this thing with Balin's skull being called to something and fucking Night Sisters talking through dreams to people and shit. There's
across galaxies.
There's no way that Luke doesn't like it hasn't like felt kind of an itch somewhere and be like, what the fuck is going on? Because I mean, you're talking about the guy who was just apparently hanging out drinking coffee when Grogu sat on the Seeing Stone, and he was just like, yeah,
wait a minute,
being like, huh, I guess I'll go check that out.
That's funny,
right? That's the thing. People would freak out about it if they got Luke involved with it and shit too. So like I said, we're gonna switch to Battlefront here in a couple of minutes. Coming,
bring all your questions, your theories, your everything.
Yeah. Let me run through a couple of these real quick. I didn't get into the ones on the post. I'll read those during the Battlefront stream, but for the live chats. I think Thrawn looked off a little bit, but it's live action. It's not Rebel, so I understand. I thought he looked pretty good, actually. I didn't think that She-Hulk looked like egregious. I thought it looked fine. That's what I was a little worried about, was like some kind of like weird uncanny valley thing that's just like almost okay. And I think they got over that.
So
I think it looks all right.
The thing that bugged me about Thrawn is that the most depictions of the Chiss have always been that their eyes are like solid red orbs, whereas it looked like he had like red contact lenses or something, and that was a little weird.
Oh, it's weird because I'm pretty sure his eyes are CG. I don't know.
Maybe.
We'll know when they do the making of, right? I was curious to see Thrawn's reactions to finding out Vader and Palpatine are dead and that Vader was redeemed. I wouldn't be surprised if Thrawn was like, has the Empire fallen yet? Because that shit was going to happen either way. Like, because I that's one of those tactical things where he'd be like, without me, they might have been fucked anyway. He steals the show, dude. We just got him, but we know he's gonna go before the show's over. I think he's talking about Ray Stevenson. Balin just looks like Valkyran from Sword. Oh yeah, huh. We might talk about that a little bit. I want the wolf as a bet, the howler.
Yeah.
I mean, she was kind of dead for a few minutes, kind of. Oh, I think he's talking about Ahsoka in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
When they go see the Mortis gods, but she gets revived. But like we know that she dies by the time Rise of Skywalker happens, because she talks to Rey during her Force LSD trip. Yeah. So it's got to happen, and I think everyone knows that. And if it happens at the end of this, I'd be perfectly fine with it. Like it would hurt. Like I think everyone loves Ahsoka. I think people would be really upset about it, but like
it wraps up the character arc.
And that's like that's what you want art to do. Like you want like seeing fucking Spider-Man blow into dust, right? Like that shit hurt, but you're like, that made me feel something, and I have a black void of a soul. Like, thank God. All right, we're gonna go play some Battlefront. Join us. We'll talk some more about Ahsoka. We love you guys.
Bye.